Well, hello YouTube, it is I, Danielle, better known as Danielle Happy Medium, and in this video up for discussion this evening, and off the back of lots and lots of questions that I get from my students, and also from people watching YouTube and stuff I see across social media, I want to talk a little bit about what I call the checklist in mediumship and how that can be holding you back within your development and moving your development onto the next level, and how it can also be stopping the spirit world from really talking about the things that they want to talk about. The checklist, for many of you will probably understand this, and I was doing this when I first started on my mediumship because it was how I taught, how I was learned. It was just sort of a particular set format that I had put into my mediumship because I didn't know any different. As I've moved further and further along the development path, and as I've come into contact with lots of different other people, and I've looked around and worked with the spirit world more, I've become more and more aware of allowing what I call trust in my mediumship, or allowing the communicator to say what it is that they feel is important. But let's sort of rewind. Let's talk a little bit about the checklist. So the checklist is, you get a communicator forward. Say we've got Uncle here. What's your name? What's your date of birth? Where did you live? What was your job title? What was your hobbies? All these sort of things. And this is great when you first start now, because for every budding medium, there's always that fear factor in. And I'll be very honest, I get a little nervous from time to time. You know, it's something that I feel is really important to still sort of have that nervousness, and it sort of keeps you in check, if that makes sense. But anyway, so this checklist is sort of a list of questions that we give the communicator, or we have within our mind, that we want to get from the communicator evidence to support survival, that life continues after death. And it's great, like I say, for newbies, because newbies sort of need that little bit of sort of something to sort of hold on. The conscious mind still sort of in play. Conscious mind still sort of saying, you're going to get it wrong, you're going to get it wrong. So the checklist sort of allows you a space to be able to move around in. And for the majority of you, when you first start out, I would recommend sort of slotting some of this in. But I am going to be doing a video on Monday called The Story. And I would like to see a mixture of the story with the checklist sort of filtered in. Doing your mediumship solely on the checklist will eventually get you into a situation where you can't push that evidence or that story any further forward. Reason being is because by the time you finish questioning the living daylights out of this lovely loved one, what they've really come to talk about, you haven't answered, or you haven't allowed them to talk. What can also happen is, when you're doing the checklist, what can happen is as you're asking all these questions and you're not always getting the answers back, what you could do is drop your blend with the spirit world, jump over onto a psychic link, and then start working on a psychic link and completely lose the spirit world. So like I say, the checklist is good when you first start. Now, it's really helpful because, you know, I understand where you budding mediums are coming from. I get that nervousness. I get that fear. You know, I get that, what am I going to do if it goes all wrong? So the checklist, I can understand why it's there. But as you're developing your mediumship, or as you're moving further along your mediumship, allow for a little bit more growth there. And the story that I'm going to put up on Monday will help you to develop that more. But the checklist will also stop your development, because what will happen is when you run out of all the questions, you've got nowhere else to go. Fear will set in, even though you're already frightened. Fear will set in again, and then ultimately the whole communication will probably fall apart. So in this video, I really want to talk about the checklist. Where the checklist come from, I don't really know. I think it's sort of old school training, or old style sort of mechanics there, maybe, that was once used in the industry and still is used quite a lot within mediumship. And in some aspects, it's really helpful. So for example, you've got a communicator, which is Uncle again. You're doing the story, but you need a name. You could sort of say within your mind, can I have your name, you know, and hopefully you can slot that into the story there, if that's something that you want to try with your communications further down the line there. I find it really hard to talk about this checklist because it's not something that I do within my mediumship, but it's a topic that needs to be discussed, because a lot of it, that mediumship I'm seeing, is still being done this way. And I really want to sort of encroach, or I really want to sort of get people to open their minds just a little bit more and say, look, try this, See how this works for you. You know, I always want to promote a new way of looking at your mediumship, but I also don't want to push people out of their comfort zone either. I understand from time to time we do need to be pushed out of their comfort zone, but only when you're ready. And with this channel, I really wanted to be able to allow people to be what they needed to be, but get that little bit extra learning there. And you never know, you might actually surprise yourself. So I understand that a lot of people are still using this checklist. A lot of people are still using it as a format to sort of get information from the loved ones. And what you have to really bear in mind here is, and I was guilty of this, so I had to stick my hands in the air, is we have to have a little bit of respect for the spirit world. And if we're bombarding them with questions, we're sort of bombarding somebody else's loved one. And what we can be doing is sort of completely neglecting them. And as a spiritualist and as a medium, it is ultimately our job to have as much respect for the spirit world as the spirit world does for the medium's mind that they work with. So that's something else to maybe bear in mind there when you're doing this checklist. But I will always offer you another alternative, and on Monday I will offer you that alternative with hints and techniques in there which should help you bring the storyline in and how you can enhance that and maybe bring that into your mediumship and develop your mediumship further. But in this video, I really wanted to talk about that checklist. I really wanted you to understand that the checklist eventually will probably need to be taken out. But when you're ready, don't do it before or because somebody's telling you to do it. Do it because you're ready for that next step. You're ready to take that development to the next stage. You're ready to look at something brand new. If not, and you want to stick with it, to stay with the checklist, I'm quite happy with that too. And I want to always get that over to people. When you're ready, you will come. And when your development's ready, it will appear for you. So in this video, I wanted to talk a little bit about the checklist in mediumship and how that might be just holding you back a little bit. All right. It has been a pleasure talking to you. I'll see you all on Monday. I'm very excited to release this video. I know it's going to help people out there massively. So I'm hoping that you'll help me get it out there to as many as possible. I have been Danielle, better known as Danielle, a happy medium, and I'll see you lot all very, very soon.